Whoa. Hey, I'm back. Hello. This is weird. Where am I? Help. Hey, what's up? I'm Kevin. This is Beyond Polygons, and yes, I'm in a new place. It's the main reason why I haven't uploaded in a while, but more on that later. I gotta put my footage on in the background. Did you know that there's a crisis going on? Like, a world crisis. You know what I mean? Over on the continent of Yggdrasil, Arvis became the emperor and the Loptian cult has spread their influence over the land. You know what I'm talking about. So yes, I have finally played Fire Emblem Thracia 776, one of the last games in the series I had ever actually played. I now only have a new Mystery of the Emblem, and I've never actually beat Radiant Dawn. I've played it though, and then I have the first three. I'm just really burned out. Kind of like the Castle of Leinster. Okay, Thracia is also the last game developed by the series creator Shouzou Kaga. The development cycle was difficult, the late release for the Super Famicom was weird, but ultimately it is the worst selling Fire Emblem game. But it's not bad, like I actually really liked it. As I've played enough different flavors of Fire Emblem, I can almost see the inner turmoil that Kaga was going through, trying to keep fans and investors happy, torn between what fans want and while trying to stay true to what he believes makes Fire Emblem unique. If you didn't know, the title, Thracia 776, is in reference to the kingdom where this game takes place, Thracia in the year of Grand Calendar 776. Thracia is on the continent of Yggdrasil, which is from the previous game, Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. Thracia 776 serves as neither a sequel nor a prequel. It's like a midquel. I've talked about Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War a few times on this channel, and I gotta say, I really like it. I've even spoiled the first half of the game, which is where this game starts to take place. So if you want to actually check it out, if you want the context for the story, I would recommend it. Leif has to live through this hardship after his father and mother were killed, his grandfather was then slain and dethroned, and he watched his home of Castle Leinster burn down. And as Finn whisked him away to safety, on the run from the Empire at large, the game picks up a few years after he was just constantly on the run. He landed in the village of Fianna where he was able to get 3 good years of youth to live safely and grow up. However, this short stint of peace is interrupted when Raedric, acting as the Empire, enters Fianna and abducts 2 of Leif's closest friends, Merida and Nana. And thus, like any Fire Emblem game, Leif's protagonist syndrome kicks in and he feels the need to fight back. Fight back for what's right. That's our job. We're the good guys, anime mode. I'll activate. For sake of spoilers, I'll mention only a handful of key scenes, but I won't give away the meat of this tale. This first bit is Leif's ragtag freedom fighting, and it quickly turns into a rebellion to reclaim his land and liberate it from the Empire. As Leif chases after his friends, he comes to a fortress, only to be caught in a trap, and it was all planned by the Empire to capture Leif in the first place. Leif begins to learn of the child hunts being done by the Empire. He was sheltered just enough to be in denial of such villainy. I love how Leif doesn't want to believe it, but has to come to terms with not only the severity of the situation, but understanding that he is also in charge of leading this rebellion. After busting out from prison, Leif watches as his comrades are trapped in an arena fighting for their lives, and right as he's able to get into the arena, Veld, the dark magic guy who's really pulling the strings, because that's always how it goes, captures one of Leif's closest friends and turns them to stone. This ignites the fire in Leif to vow to return to Manster, reclaim northern Thracia, and save his dearest friend. This is where the game pivots into the rebellion that Leif slowly builds throughout taking the long way around to Leinster and then subsequently Manster. He meets new allies and he finds more and more people who despise the Empire, but need the right leader to fight for the future of Thracia. A proper coming-of-age scenario delivered in a greater context, knowing the large scale that this story and FE4 has set up for it. Every chapter feels important, even when it's simply described as just trying to get to the next big place. For me, the next major plot point is when Leif arrives to liberate the city of Tara, but he arrives right as the Empire decides that this city needs to go down and concede to us because we're the Empire and we're in charge. Tara's and we're going to destroy. All the way over on that side of the ridge, and the Empire's right about to attack them. We gotta. Oh no! I guess I gotta talk about the gameplay elements that enhance the story. In retrospect, the story of Leaf is of a simple goal, but it's the scenario of being on the run from the Empire and the fact that the entire game takes place over 1 year. It adds this sense of urgency. It sets the stage and that the levels are going to be designed around. Everyone knows that FE4 has some dated design features, and no matter how much Chaz and I are going to tell you that these supposed issues are actually benefits to what the game is trying to convey, people are going to complain anyway. And you know what? People used to complain the exact same things back then. Why can't I trade? Why can't I use my dudes? Why do I have to use the pawnbroker? I just want to trade. These chapters are too long. Intelligent Systems and the big guys upstairs told Kaga all the complaints and that he needed to adapt to it if this game was going to sell. You can now trade between units. Maps are way smaller and they feel like individual skirmishes along the way of this bigger journey. I actually kind of like it. Oh, and there is my favorite thing. The rescue strats. Packed into a hearty 33 chapters, it's a long game, but it never feels like it gets old. Kaga tried to condense the individual parts of what made Genealogy a cool game, and I think a part of what builds into that is the importance of item management. Item management. I can't make it sound cool, I know. Everyone knows that weapons break in Fire Emblem, and unlike modern games with all these shops to visit between chapters and you can always prepare before the following chapter, this game sprinkles those shops across the journey, and they're ever so hard to find. And there is an armory, to be fair, of like the weakest weapons, but you'll probably want other weapons, like not garbage ones and, you know, normal ass items. Shops are rare, but they do give a sense that you've reached civilization. You grab items while you can, and you make them last for that next stretch, because the story constantly tells you how you're trying to get to certain places along the way. There is another way to get items, and that is by capturing enemies. This is, I believe, the only game where you can really do this. And it's like you're using rescue strats on the enemy, and you take their stuff, and wow, it almost feels broken in a way, because you can capture bosses and stuff and take their really good weapons. You even get like special dialogue for doing it. Whoa, this is really cool. To capture an enemy, the attacking unit needs to have higher constitution than the target, and the combat that you'll do, you'll have half your stats. So it's hard to win these. It can be really tough to capture some enemies, but the rewards are so worth it. We're talking about literally taking the boss's items, like broken weapons, overpowered magic staves, and those staves are really overpowered, like the stuff that you don't get like a lot of in other games, and you can get a lot of them now. Oh, the late game in this is insane. I love the excitement of going for a capture and know that I'm also stocking up on items because I'm gonna need a lot of those to get through this game. It rewards you for being like really tactical. I appreciate that. This also means that your own units can get captured by the enemies, which is also really crazy. And they take your items and they might as well be as good as dead, but they're not technically dead, and maybe you can save them. Having a good stockpile of items is encouraged, and I found myself with full inventories for most of my units. Still though, shops become a sigh of relief. Buy the weapons you need because you're gonna need some backups. Healing staves, magic tomes, torches for these really dark Fog of War maps. Your inventories are full, man. What? How am I even supposed to trade when our inventories are full? But you also get this Robin Hood vibe of Leaf being this peaceful but aggressive rebel leader who sees the benefits in civility for his enemies. Not that all bosses can be captured, but they do have, like, you get really good overpowered items. It's worth it. One very important item almost exclusively sold in shops though is the stamina drinks. These are, hear me out here, because this is for something that was totally new. This was FE5's like pretty much most original feature. Fatigue. It always sounds boring, doesn't it? Your units will get tired. They gain 1 fatigue point for every fight they've done, and powerful staves can actually end up using more of your fatigue points. When fatigue exceeds that unit's HP, they have to sit out the next chapter. Okay, I got the explanation out of the way. It's not boring anymore. So here's how it works in concept, right? Before the big battle for Tara that I was talking about, Leaf was on the run here from escaping from that gate. Like all those chapters were saying, we gotta get to Tara. And he's like running. It's like a fast forward. Like here's Thracia as a country, but you still get time to like meet some of the characters along the way. Hey Hannibal, how's it going? Also, I love this game's use of like really thin maps, if that makes sense. They can add to the sense that Leaf is running between the mountains. It's a smooth and effective way to make the spawns that come up behind you feel really threatening because you're being chased. When you arrive at Tara, the dialogue discusses how tired your comrades must be because they are. This either forces players to use some of their other units or prepare ahead by like doing that in previous chapters. Although I don't want to spoil like the story that's going on in these chapters, I can't state enough how this game somehow makes them feel important, and every character on the way is like appreciated. With this, the cast has so much potential to have fan favorites. I used Marty, and like he's not great, but it was funny to me to like watch him level up and get stronger because I needed like the extra hands because there was times to use your other units. From Leif's friends in Fianna to knights still under oath to Castle Leinster, Leif has the sense that he's not just doing it for his friend who's still turned to stone. He has his sworn knights, the Magi, and the other rebels who all know the Empire's up to some stinky stuff out there. It's true they don't get as much attention to character development like they did in FE4, but this gives them room to be beloved for just being used in your army. It helps balance that some will die and you just have to be okay with that. Because this game is hard. This is probably the most well-known fact about Thracia 776. It's stupidly hard. It's probably the hardest Fire Emblem game. I stopped recording footage halfway through because I just wanted to focus on playing the game and not recording footage and taking notes. But I assure you I beat it, and by golly did I come to terms with how hard a Fire Emblem game could be. A part of it is to bring across that Leif is having the hardest quest of his life in front of him. He's on the run from a corrupt dictator, and there's all these different players involved who know that he's the leader of a rebellion. There's a lot of different mission types, such as the brand new escape missions, which involve escaping from the enemy. It gives Leif's army this need to try to get out of there, and Leif has to be the last one out though, because you'll leave units behind if he leaves before them. For a game that only has one lord, I actually really appreciate him, and I wouldn't like it if there was a bunch more, right? Other mission types are your typical siege missions, but also, right after that chapter with Tara, is the very first defense map ever in Fire Emblem. I didn't realize it was such a big moment. It plays so well into the theming of being on the run. It's that moment where Leif finally hits the castle and has to turn around and be like, now we gotta hold out. We gotta hold out for as long as we can. I won't let this fall. And the way he gets out of it, there's some story beats, I'm not gonna spoil it past that. But it's the fact that that last chapter was an escape mission. You got into that door, you got in there, you ran out of it, turns around and goes, okay, now you gotta defend the castle. You gotta hold it down for 10 turns. It's really good. It tells like it's a flowing story that uses the gameplay elements to enhance it. Can I be any more clear about this? Just because these maps are hard doesn't mean that it isn't thematically relevant. I actually really think this is kind of cool. Whereas early in the game, you're stressed out because you're kind of starved for resources, the late game's expecting you to have a lot of really good stuff. They cast a lot of status ailments that you need restore staffs for, so you better keep your healers alive. Did you know they can get captured by just being attacked? Be careful of that one. The enemies are using their own warp and rescue strats to move their enemies around. They can even just warp themselves if they want to. I was blown away by what this game was expecting me to put together in a Fire Emblem game. I can't stress enough how it truly makes you feel like the odds are against you. On top of the importance of item management, like this chapter where I needed a butt ton of door keys, I also needed stamina drinks because some of my better units were obviously used a lot. Reaching the late game, there's a sense that the last shop you can visit is your last chance to grab the items you need. And the more you hold on to from the early parts of the game, like there's some rare stuff that you only get one of, even early on. If you can hold on to that, you'll appreciate it by the final missions. They're true tests of luck, willpower, and planning, which might turn some people off. Okay, time to come out with it. I use save states. I'm not against it with Fire Emblem. I could have just restarted the missions from the beginning. This was just to save time. I might have grinded the arena a little bit. But you know what? I lost Lara while I was doing it, so I think that makes up for it. But it doesn't hide the difficulty, okay? This game is hard, and I can understand that you could lose some units and still play through this game. There's an unlimited arena to use. your other units would make up for it eventually. There's enough units that the game almost expects you to lose units along the way. But it's done as part of the story because unlocking many of them requires jumping through some sort of hoop. Like when Leaf arrives at Kerberos' gate, there's 4 children to save. If you save them all, you can get another character in a later chapter. This was the first game with guidance chapters, which we haven't seen since the GBA games. Paralogs don't really feel the same, you know, it's weird. Thracia did it first, and it uses them to their full effect. The criteria to unlock them can add that extra challenge to a mission. It's as simple as just keeping green units alive, which is the classic, but you feel like you earned something. Because although these chapters are equally challenging, their value comes more from the fact that you might get certain characters here, or you need to do them to unlock certain characters. Like the first thief you get in this game comes from a guidance chapter. And you need them because you're getting to like these castle maps, and otherwise you gotta wait till Lara. And these guidance chapters, story-wise, take place at night. So for the gameplay, it gives you these really dark fog of war maps because it's nighttime and it's hard to see. And these dark maps give me a total appreciation for torch stabs. Like, the difficulty is a big draw of this game. However, chapters can still be cheesed through good item management, and I think that's crazy. Like if you have a warp staff and you don't want to deal with a mission, you can just warp your dude to the end, kill the boss and seize, and you win. And it's like, oh, there it is. It's interesting how this game has it both ways. In one chapter, you can easily just like skirt all your units out to the bottom side of the map and just escape. Or you can actually go and collect all the items, including this dude named Hicks. And the only way to get Hicks, by the way, is to do the sub mission from the mission like 2 chapters back sort of thing. It's this right balance where not only is the game difficult, it still incentivizes you to take on the challenge and push against a difficult scenario. All spoilers aside, you can save that friend that got turned to stone, but not until the second to last chapter. And doing this requires like meeting certain conditions. But at that point, this character is far from your best unit, but you do this purely for the story reasons. It works so well with the gameplay, like I love it. Simply put, the difficulty, I'll admit, may turn some people off. But this challenge is reflected so well through the story, level designs, and just the scene that this whole game sets up for itself. Kaga had this storytelling style to FE4, and he wanted to tell it through the gameplay. And then now he's using the gameplay mechanics that people wanted to reverse engineer it to reflect the story. Trading items might seem like a great quality of life, but item management is still at the forefront gameplay-wise. The reduced maps make the story feel so much more personal, and there's so many characters and so many stories to go through that it really does feel like Leaf is building an army. A strategy RPG needs to blend the form factor of turn-based movement to the character development needed to, roleplay the game. Thracia 776 is almost bursting at the seams with nuances to find and mechanics to fully grasp. Chapters can be done in a variety of ways, from the cheesiest warp strats to pushing through a stubborn blockade. But the story surrounding it facilitates these mechanics and still understands that these characters aren't just chess pieces, they are telling a story as the battle wages on. I also really appreciated the music through all this. Yuka Sugiyoko has outdone herself again. I don't know how she does it. She does fantastic music. My favorite tracks were the main chapter theme. Raedric's theme was really good whenever he would show up. And I like that a lot of songs did have leitmotifs to FE4, but they were really hidden and it was really nice. I would really recommend playing Thracia 776 because it's a nice blend of Kaga's philosophy of blending the combat with the level designs and the story themes all into the kind of experience. He may have moved on from IS to later get sued. Whew, damn, okay. But I can't help but feel like between FE4 and FE5, he was trying to make the best Fire Emblem game. They hold a certain feeling that the newer games, to me personally, haven't really hit in terms of what I can see in Kaga's design philosophy. With that being said, those are my thoughts on Thracia 776. I'm going to make an update video soon for the future of the channel and what's going on here and what am I planning for this channel. Just know that I love Fire Emblem and just know that I love Fire Emblem and gaming, and I want to find and convey that through the internet in an entertaining way. my end of the video comment to ask you guys, I guess, is how do you feel if I renamed and rebranded the channel a little bit? Just let me know. Thanks for watching.